Hey there folks, it is time for another Adulting and Crafting. We are so happy to bring crafts to you for Imagine Your Story, so hopefully you have picked up your craft kit. For this final week for this summer, we are going to be doing clothespin trivets. What's a trivet, you say? Well, when you take a pan off of the stove and it is hot and you don't want to set it on your counter, you can have one of these on your counter, these handy dandy trivets to be able to put your pan on, and it keeps your counter from being scorched. So hopefully you will have a good time with us as we do these clothespin trivets. So in your kit, you have 25 clothespins. You also have a handy dandy sponge brush, and you're also going to have a craft stick. Yours is going to look better than mine. Mine is a little beat up because I've used it a whole bunch. But those are the three things that you're going to have in your kit. And before you leave the library, hopefully you have watched this video or you know what we're doing before that. But there are two things that you can grab before you leave, because I know that when we were doing these craft kits, I thought to myself, people are probably not going to want to go out and buy a whole ton of stuff. As well as we will have extra supplies here, so why don't we just make it easier for everybody and we share? So the first thing that you can get from the library is a choice of two things. You want to be able to make your clothespin trivet something other than this plain color of wood. I like this wood. Maybe you like it too. If you like it, then you don't have to. Totally don't have to do a thing. But I also like different colors of wood, and so one of the things that I picked up is this cool wood stain. It is a vintage aqua, and it makes things this color. That has a little bit of glue on it, so that's shiny. But you can kind of see the vintage aqua. The other one that I purchased is this one. It's cocoa bean. And it makes it this color. Now granted, this is only one coat, but I think it's really, really pretty, kind of that dark gray brown color. So if you like that, then you're welcome to grab some of that. Now you will notice as I hold up both of these stains that one of them has polyurethane in it and one of them doesn't. It, on the back of this can, says that it's okay up for use to 200 degrees. So I personally think that that's probably going to be okay. But if you do want something that has polyurethane, a sealer in it, then you might want to grab this one or go out and purchase your own sealer. So you can have just a little bit of that. It does not take a whole ton, so I am happy to share if you want either of those colors. And the other thing that you can grab at the library is this crafting glue. This is E6000. The original E6000 was super trooper smelly. I got the no odor, and I suggest it because if you craft a lot, then you already know this, but the original E6000 was so smelly that it's probably better to just go and do your craft outside, because you're going to need a major ventilated area. This is actually not too bad. I was able to do this in the library. It does smell just a tiny bit, but nothing like the original. So you are welcome to grab a little bit of this as well. So the first thing that we're going to do these cute clothespin trivets is we are going to stain our clothespins. I'm not going to do that with you because I'm pretty sure that you know how to paint on stain. So just saying, but a little bit of a tip that it does say on the back of the can that you won't get, because I'll just give you a little cup if you do want one of these stains, is that go ahead and put the stain on your clothespin and let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, and then wipe it off the extra with a paper towel. So that way, I really like the fact that you can kind of see the wood grain through this one. If you don't want it like that and you want it one color, then you can totally put on a second coat when it dries. But first, of course, you need to go ahead and twist your clothespins. Just twist it so that way it's like this. And I put 25 clothespins in your bag, and you should only need 24, but just in case, you just twist and get those metal off, and then go ahead and paint on your stain, making sure that you get, of course, all the creases and crevices. If you really like the vintage look, maybe you want to put together your trivet without staining it. you can do that, and that way the stain doesn't really get in all of the creases and crevices. If you want to do that, that's totally fine too. I would love to see a picture of your final product because I think that that would be beautiful. So, but after you go ahead and stain, like I said, here are the couple of colors that you can have, that vintage aqua and the cocoa bean. Once you go ahead and stain, the stain is sticky and it's also oily, so make sure that you have like some Dawn or some dish soap to be able to wash it off of your hands. You might want to put out, you know, something on your table too, so that way it doesn't cause an issue on your table. But after you get it all stained and it dries, as many coats as you would like, then you're going to want to put things together. So I have gone ahead and started putting mine together, but I wanted to show you in the picture that's right up here, you will see that there are several different ways to put these clothespins together. So that's the first choice you have to make. You have to decide what you want it to look like. So I decided that my favorite look was this look. It kind of almost looks like a violin if you face it this way. But when you put it together, I thought it looked kind of like a snowflake, and I thought that that was really pretty. But there are other ways to put it together. Put them together if you want to maybe just put them all flat, so that way everything, all the clothespins are facing one direction. Then you can do, that. And I think that that is really cool. I do think that the different ways to put them together make a difference. I think it's very, very attractive. So when you're putting these together, it is important to try to make sure that the holes are lined up. So if you put a little bit of glue, I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to squeeze out just a tiny bit, and I just have some newspaper down on the table. So something that you'll be able to throw away because this glue is very sticky. So you'll need something that you can just throw away. But if you take just your craft stick and just a little bit of glue, you can just see that I just have a little ribbon of glue, and put it on the craft stick. This is of course my choice to do it like violins. So if you choose a different way, then you'll have to glue them together. And then glue them together in that way. Then go ahead and just stick them together. And this glue does have a tendency to not stick together super quick. The great thing about that is if you happen to stick them together like that, and if you're anything like me, that would drive you a little crazy, you can move them back. If you do come back, you go ahead and set them out for a day, and you do come back, they're pretty much glued together like that. So make sure when you are finished with how you want to position your clothespins, that is positioned correctly. I will show one to you that I did, unfortunately, by accident. You can see that the holes are off, but that is okay. I think in the grand scheme of things, it will all work out. Okay, so I found it easier to go ahead and do the single clothespins like this, and then not put any others on the connecting area, which this will be where it connects to make the circle in the middle. I found it easier to go ahead and put those together and then do them singly. So one together like this, one whole thing together, and then put them together like this, and then eventually put them together like this. So I think that you can continue to put them together, but I do think it's important that as you look at the circle, look at the place where they're going to be attached, you're going to want this circle to be as even as possible. So if that means that the circle here is not even, I think you need to sacrifice that and make this circle here as even as possible. Not only is it going to be easier then to put together in the end, but I think the aesthetic in the end will be much nicer, much cleaner. So go ahead and glue yours together, and then I would say the most you need to glue together in the beginning is probably 8 or maybe 10. So if you do this And then then I would go ahead and stop right there. So that is that is 12, I lied. If you go ahead and stop there and leave your other ones separate, so that way when you put them together, then you can really fit them in. So we're going to pause for just a minute, and I'm going to readjust the camera, and we will put them together, put the clothespins together. All right, hold on for just a second. Okay, so we have glued our trivet together into different pieces, but I have left a few out because I think that it's important to not get carried away when you glue these together and make sure that all of the sections fit into a circle. So I have glued, these are together, and there's 12 of them. And then I want to go ahead and just lay out the rest of the trivet. So that way I know how everything fits in. So some of my glue is still a little malleable, which is great, but I want to make sure that this round circle here in the middle is nice and even. So if I go ahead and lay these in like this, then I did leave one single one together by itself because I thought it was really important to be able to squeeze them all together like that. So you can kind of see how I've squeezed, and then it's going to all go together like that. So now I can go ahead and take it apart little by little. Like this section I can go ahead and take out and use my handy dandy little craft stick and use just a little bit of glue that I have squeezed out onto a newspaper, and go ahead and glue them together. And this is the way that it's going to you're going to want it to sit and dry. So this is really where you need to decide, or you need to make sure that you have it into a place that is really going to be able to stay and sit for a while. I would say that probably the glue really needs to go ahead and solidify for probably 8 to 10 hours, maybe even overnight. So make sure you have that in mind when you start your gluing process. So I'm just gluing just a little bit of glue on, you can actually do both sides now because there is going to be something else to glue it to, which is pretty awesome. We are getting to the end of this craft. So here we go. And I put a little glue on that side, so that should stay. I need just a tiny bit more glue to go ahead and finish this out. So here we go. A little bit of glue, and a little bit of glue, and set it in place. And then my last one, a little bit of glue on that side, and a little bit of glue on this side. And I'm gonna set the craft stick down, go ahead and slide it into place, and now you can kind of adjust your circle. So I like to try to make sure that everything is nice and even as possible here, but you do need to kind of make sure that everything sticks together. So you just take it and kind of squeeze in, and then you can kind of adjust. So now you can see that your trivet, the way your trivet is actually going to look. And I think that it's so fun and so attractive, and yet just so simple. I think that that is really something that will look nice on your countertops. We're finishing up our clothespin trivet, so I just wanted to show you my final product, and hopefully you had the same type of success. So here is my final product. So you will notice that on some of my clothespins, there are some pieces of newspaper that got stuck, or there's parts of it that are kind of showing through. The clothespins are kind of showing through a little bit. I think that that's totally fine. I kind of like that look, but if you don't, just take a quick swipe of your stain and paint over it. It really, even though it's a stain, it kind of acts like a paint. And so I have noticed that really you can paint over it, because I've done that a couple of different times on here. Or, you know, if you want some of this glue to go away, use some sandpaper and scrape some of this glue. I got a little touch too much glue, and so it kind of came out in a couple of places. But really, all in all, I think this is so pretty and I can't wait to use it. I hope you had a great time doing this craft with us, and hopefully you have been imagining your story all summer long, and you will pick back up with us once we start our fall programming. Thanks so much for joining.